What if I told you that just 250 years ago, America was not the world's richest country? It wasn't the world's strongest military power. It wasn't the center of global finance. It wasn't the home of the world's biggest corporations. In fact, compared to the great empires of its time, America was almost insignificant. So how did a collection of colonies on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean become the most powerful economic force the world has ever seen? How did America go from being a young nation fighting for survival to a country that today produces trillions of dollars every year? And perhaps the biggest question of all, was America's rise inevitable, or was it a series of lucky accidents that changed history forever? This is the story of how America became the richest nation on Earth. In the late 1700s, when America gained independence from Britain, nobody could have predicted what would happen next. At that time, the world's wealth was concentrated elsewhere. Britain controlled global trade. France was one of Europe's great powers. China and India represented enormous civilizations with vast populations. America was young, divided, and uncertain about its future. But hidden beneath its soil and spread across its vast landscape were resources that would one day change everything. Millions of acres of fertile farmland, huge forests, massive rivers, coal, iron, and eventually, oil. Lots of oil. Nature had given America a treasure chest unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. But resources alone don't create wealth. Many countries have resources and remain poor. The difference is what a nation does with them. And America was about to do something extraordinary. As the 1800s began, waves of immigrants started arriving. They came from Ireland, Germany, Italy, Eastern Europe, and many other regions. Some escaped poverty. Some escaped war. Some simply dreamed of a better future. America became a magnet for ambition. Every year, more people arrived. More workers, more farmers, more inventors, more entrepreneurs. This growing population created a powerful economic engine. People needed homes, food, clothes, roads, railways, everything. And wherever there was demand, businesses emerged. The economy began growing rapidly. But another major event was unfolding at the same time. America was expanding westward. Every new territory brought more farmland, more minerals, and more opportunities. The nation was becoming larger, richer, and more connected. Then came one invention that changed everything: the railroad. Railroads linked distant regions together. Farmers could sell crops across the country. Factories could ship products thousands of miles. Trade exploded. For the first time, America began functioning as one giant economic market, and that was only the beginning. By the late 19th century, a revolution was taking place, the Industrial Revolution. Factories appeared across the nation. Machines replaced manual labor. Production increased dramatically. Suddenly, goods that once took days to make could be produced in hours. American businessmen saw enormous opportunities. Andrew Carnegie built a steel empire. John D. Rockefeller dominated the oil industry. J.P. Morgan expanded the financial system. These men became some of the richest individuals in history. But their companies did something even more important. They transformed America into an industrial giant. Steel built cities. Oil-powered industries. Banks financed expansion. Factories created millions of products. By 1900, America was no longer a rising nation. It was becoming an economic superpower. Yet the biggest boost was still ahead, and it would come from one of humanity's greatest tragedies. In 1914, World War I erupted in Europe. Countries destroyed each other's economies. Millions died. Entire regions suffered devastation. America joined the war later, but something important happened. Unlike Europe, America's homeland remained largely untouched. Its factories kept operating, its industries kept growing, its economy kept expanding. When the war ended, Europe was weakened. America was stronger. Then, just 2 decades later, World War II began. The destruction was even greater. Cities across Europe were reduced to rubble. Factories disappeared. Infrastructure collapsed. Entire economies were shattered. But once again, the United States emerged relatively intact. American factories worked around the clock. They produced weapons, vehicles, ships, aircraft, supplies. Not just for America, but for allies around the world. By the end of the war, something remarkable had happened. Much of the industrial world lay in ruins. America did not. For the first time in modern history, the United States stood at the center of the global economy. And from that position, it built an empire unlike any before. Not through colonies, not through kings, but through business, finance, and technology. After World War II, another historic shift occurred. The US dollar became the world's dominant currency. Think about that for a moment. Countries across the globe started trading using American dollars. Governments held dollars in reserve. Banks relied on dollars. International commerce increasingly revolved around the American financial system. This gave the United States enormous influence. The dollar became one of the most powerful tools in global economics. At the same time, American companies expanded worldwide. Their products entered homes across continents. American brands became global brands, and American wealth continued to grow. But then came another revolution. One that would make industrial wealth look small by comparison. The technology revolution. In a region of California known as Silicon Valley, a new era began. Unlike previous generations, these entrepreneurs weren't digging mines or building railroads. They were building ideas, computers, software, microchips, the internet, and later, smartphones, social media, artificial intelligence. Companies that started in garages became worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Innovation became America's new source of power. The nation attracted talented scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs from around the world. Universities produced groundbreaking research. Investors funded risky ideas. Some failed. Many failed. But the few that succeeded changed the world and generated unimaginable wealth. Today, many of the world's most valuable companies are American technology firms. That is not an accident. It is the result of decades of investment, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And yet America's rise was never perfect. Behind the success story were challenges, economic inequality, financial crises, political conflicts, periods of recession, social tensions. Not everyone benefited equally from economic growth, and critics argue that too much wealth became concentrated among a small number of corporations and individuals. Even today, debates continue over whether America's economic system is fair. But despite these challenges, one fact remains undeniable. America has repeatedly demonstrated an extraordinary ability to reinvent itself. When industries decline, new industries emerge. When crises strike, recovery often follows. This resilience has been one of America's greatest strengths. So, how did America become the richest country in history? Was it geography? Yes. Was it natural resources? Absolutely. Was it immigration, innovation, entrepreneurship, and global influence? Without question. But perhaps America's greatest advantage was its ability to turn opportunity into growth, to transform resources into industries, industries into wealth, and wealth into global power. The story of America's rise is not simply a story about money. It is a story about ambition, risk, innovation, competition, and timing. For more than 2 centuries, These forces combined to create one of the most extraordinary economic transformations humanity has ever witnessed. And now, a new question is emerging. Can America remain the richest and most powerful nation in the 21st century, or will another country eventually take its place? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the rise of America remains one of the most fascinating stories in human history. Thanks for watching.